Yeah, so another poor round today. Sorry, poor day today. Really, I got 1.5 out of 2. I seem to be struggling really with the calculation compared to where I was. I think there was like one of the key moments today was the second game against Jonah. When I was very tired in the opening phase, I felt very tired. I sort of physically crashed, so it might be a diabetic thing. Obviously, 2 games a day, that's just too much for me. But there was one moment later on, it was quite interesting when he played. It went Queen C4, which obviously wasn't the best, and he missed Knight D7 and then Knight B6. But when he retreated, he was right in the post mortem that I should go for E5. I think probably objectively that was a good try, but um, yeah, I could have also gone Bishop D7. So the point is that my knight's on B6, so he's threatening A5. And, I can't go to D5 because he's hitting that square twice with the knight on C3 and the bishop on F3. So my first instinct was to go Bishop D7 there against Jonah. And when he goes A5, then I go Knight BA4. But then I saw Knight D1 and I wasn't sure. And I could go E5, FE, Queen takes E5. I saw that variation, I wasn't sure about it. So the thing is that position is still very tricky because my knights are kind of weird on A4 and they can't really move. And B7 is a bit weak, but I do have a little bit of play. And that the computer says that's the best try. And that was my first gut instinct. That's what I mean about the calculation. Not trusting my instincts at the moment. And but obviously I'm worse there, but sometimes you have to play lines where you're worse, but you just intuitively feel that that's the right way to play. Whereas I went Rook D8, which just felt uncomfortable. It was like a move that I didn't originally intend to play. And then eventually got this opposite colour bishop ending, which is very tough to hold. Maybe it's a draw, but he played it really well. And, in the post-mortem, he was very confident. Like this is always winning, like this ending. So I wasn't so sure though. Like, he felt like he was probably winning, but the morning game I played against Gasinov. He's another very good player, and he's leading the tournament. Or Jonah Willow possibly also is up there, but maybe half a point behind because he lost in the morning. But Jonah's in good shape to get a GM norm. I think he'll definitely become a GM. So I feel now that these players moved ahead of me. People like Jonah Willow and Wadsworth and players like that. Harry Grieve, obviously. They kind of moved ahead of me now, and I don't feel I'm on their level. But there's still a chance to maybe make up that ground, but I need to really work harder. I need to get a laptop so I can prepare better for these games. Because back in the day, preparation was a big part of my thing. But also, 2 games a day, I'm going to have to think about. It's very hard to avoid playing 2 games a day tournaments now if you want to be a chess professional. Unless you're playing at the elite level, even Hans Niemann's playing a lot of 2 games a day tournaments. There was also an issue with a tournament with with basically there's like a wait as people were waiting before the second game because the second game the morning's game starts at 10. Second game starts at 3 p.m. But in a couple of the days, people were waiting around outside, waiting for games to finish, which is not ideal. And then they said, well, look, if you're still playing at 2:30, you have to go and play in another room. You stop your game and then you move the board and you play in another room and as an adjournment, which is, to me, honest, that's completely ridiculous. Like if that was me, I would just say, look, do you want to draw or just resign the game? I mean, I would just not bother with that. So I think that what they should do is move it to, say, the second game to 4 p.m. It gives people more time to recover. prepare for their second game. Or alternatively, just have a guillotine time control. But the problem is they don't want to have a guillotine because then that leads to more arguments about whether people can play on and sort of things. So it's a tricky situation, but I think the Northumberland Masters should change it to maybe the second game to 4 p.m. It gives more time to finish that first game, or use a different time control. I'm not sure what the solution is. But my game this morning was very interesting, and I played against Gastanov. He's a lovely guy, actually. He's from Ukraine. Very strong player. All my tournaments recently just seem to be a case of, can I catch up Gastanov? He's like way ahead of me. But I had chances in that game at the end. It was a very interesting position. But for most of the game, he was bossing it. I played some sort of slightly dodgy moves in the opening. And at some moment, he played knight a5. And I realised I should take the pawn on a4 against Gastanov after knight a5. But I didn't want to play a position where he's got the initiative. So I'd rather play a lost position, which is -2, than a position where it's better for him, but, it's not too bad. So I basically went c5, which is a horrendous move. And then when he got knight b3, he's strategically winning. He played a great move at e5. He could have maybe gone e5 even earlier than that. And then I really had to go all in. Played this crazy sacrifice, knight takes f7. So great game, very entertaining. I quite enjoyed that game. But then the second game, obviously, but actually at the end against Gastanov, I could have even played on. But it's sort of psychological, because you're kind of thinking I could have actually moved the king back. It was a very weird situation. You'd have had to move the rook back and then give up the bishop. Then he's got the rook and knight against rook and 2 pawns. The Indian even gives a slight edge for white, which kind of suggests that I might have won from there because he was well short of time. And I had plenty of time left. So it's very easy for black to go wrong there. So possibly I should have played on. But it's like a typical psychological situation when I was losing earlier, which I was. So, do you read... Magnus Carlsen would just play on there. Because he would psychologically readjust. But I was given I was losing earlier, a draw was a good result. But if I won that game, it would have been a massive boost. Because it'd been I'd totally lost against someone as strong as Gasanov. And I managed to turn it around and win. I mean, even a draw was a great result in the end. But then, obviously, I had to ground down that endgame by Jonah Willow. It just felt very depressing. I don't like that when you get ground down in the endgame. But I've done it to people myself. I do think Jonah Willow is strong, even Super GM potential. He's still quite young. He seems to be very good. Possible future British champion as well. So, yeah, he's got a great future. I think he'll definitely make GM. But Gasanov's very good as well. So there's so many good players in this tournament. Tomorrow I've got... the last 2 days I've got half out of 2. I've run out of steam. I've got no energy to play 2 games a day. I've got Conor Murphy in the morning. He's really super strong. He had an incredible performance in the last Olympiad in India. So that's going to be incredibly tough. And then in the evening, or the afternoon, I've got Ara Kamir, who's also had an incredible performance in the Chess Olympiad once in Thessaloniki, I think in 1988, where they nearly beat the famous Polgar sisters, the Georgian team. She got 11 out of 11. And Judith Polgar made this famous comment about, I'll never play women's chess again, because... we won pretty much every game and we still almost didn't win it. So it's like, what's the point? It's like, basically saying the level's terrible. Which it is compared to the top male chess. He was as good as most of the top male players, if not all of them. So, yeah. But yeah, I've got 2 toughies and then I finished with white against Golding. But I just wanted the tournament to end by this point. I just hoping to end and get my fee and just get out there. But yeah, that's the update from today. Fairly depressing, but looking on the bright side, Jonah Willow's got a good chance of a GM nom, so good luck to him. And Gasanov also doing well, so good luck to those guys. I don't think there's any prize money in my section. I don't know, to be honest, but I don't think there's... I just get a fee and that's it. There's no prize money in my section, so there's nothing really to aim for, I don't think. Anyway, please leave your comments down below. What do you think about the time control for the Northumbrian Masters? Should they change the time control? Or should they leave it as it is? Because I do think you don't have much of a turnaround. I shouldn't have gone for a post-mortem. It was a very interesting game against Casanov. I went for a post-mortem. By the time I finished, it was already 20-2. You've only got an hour and 20 minutes then to recover, get a bit of rest, get a bit of food, and then you go again. It's not enough time.